is 12 noon on Friday, which means it's time for this week's episode of State of Real Estate. I'm John Christman. The show is brought to you by the Tampa School of Real Estate. Every Friday, 12 noon Eastern time, we come to you live to talk about the very important topic of making money in real estate, about taking your business to the next level. Maybe starting to make money when you're first getting your real estate license, maybe making more money after you've had your license for a while. And today we've got a topic that is really about that. It's about building a lead generating machine where you've got a pipeline of clients lined up waiting to work for you, and you never have to worry about prospecting in. You don't like door knocking? Farming is for you. You don't like cold calling? Farming is for you. If you don't mind waiting a little bit to get business, but for waiting and sticking with this and persevering that you build a mountainous business, farming is for you, but it only works if it's done correctly. So there's some very important points you want to remember when we're farming, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to be talking about the mistakes you don't want to make when you're farming, as well as some strategies. Go over and kind of run down just a basic kind of strategy for farming. So we've got a great episode for you today. I'm really passionate about farming and marketing in general, so I can't wait to share this with you guys. If you have questions, drop it in the comments. But I'm John Christmo. The show is brought to you by the Tampa School of Real Estate. You're watching State of Real Estate.
You are watching
State of Real Estate. Every Friday at 12 noon Eastern time. Grow your real estate business. You're watching State of Real Estate. Hey, welcome back to this week's episode of State of Real Estate. I'm John Christmo. This show is brought to you by Tampa School of Real Estate. Every Friday, 12 noon Eastern time, we come to you live to mastermind to grow your real estate business. So let's get right down to it and talk about some farming stuff here. So first and foremost, I want to cover some mistakes it is that you do not want to make, that you will basically blow your farming strategy if you make these mistakes. So number one rule is to be persistent. Now, this is important in so many walks of life, being persistent. Because if you're not persistent in most things, you're not going to find yourself being successful. But it's super important with farming because, so what farming is basically, we lay out some sort of neighborhood. Let's say we're in like some sort of urban area and our streets look kind of like this. And we've basically got this map and we're saying, okay, we're going to farm these blocks. So everyone within this area, they know that we're the real estate expert that they need to talk to. That when they're thinking about buying or selling their property, if they live in this area, we're the first people that are coming to mind. And what this does and why this is so powerful is when we become the expert in this area. Now this might be, we're talking about 4 blocks of houses here, which, I don't know, depending on the size of these blocks, maybe it's 100, maybe, we'll say it's 100 homes. Let's say there's 100 homes in here. And that might not sound like a very big area, and that's the point. And that leads us to rule number 2. And these are all going to kind of tie together. They're all going to tie together. But rule number 2 is start small. And obviously, the bigger area it is that you could farm, the better. Because if we could market to 1,000 homes, then obviously that would be better because that's more opportunity for us to get business. But the problem with starting with something so big and not starting small is you'll quickly burn up your advertising budget and your marketing budget. And you'll run out of resources. You'll run out of money to pay for the mailers, the Facebook ads, the whatever it is. And look, you get be creative with this as well. If you've got maybe some sort of, bootstrap budget with this, maybe you don't send something through the mail. Maybe you go through and just go, maybe you're afraid of door knocking. Look, if you don't mind knocking on the door, that's going to amplify this. But maybe you don't want to knock on the doors and you're just going to put a little thing on their doorknob. Just get one of the little rubber band things and just, rubber band a little like newsletter or flyer or something like that on the doorknob. That's a way you could save yourself some money there. Now you're just paying for the cost of these flyers and a rubber band. You got maybe 10, 12 cents. Now, granted, you have to have the sweat equity to put this out there, but that's what I'm referring to when you're starting small, because you can go right into it, and let's say you want to go mail something to 1,000 homes, and let's say between the postage and the things it is that you're printing, it's costing you maybe $700. If we just send that out that one time and spend that $700, we might have zero return on our investment, because that goes back to rule number one. Rule number one is be persistent, because you're not going to strike gold on the first shovelful of dirt. You got your little shovel and you're shoveling it out. That first shovelful of dirt, that's your first mailing. That's your first time an ad runs on Facebook or Google or whatever that may be for this area. That first shovel of dirt, you're not going to find gold there. So don't be surprised when you make one shovel dig and you're like, oh, wait a minute, there's no gold here? This obviously isn't going to work. No, and there's a story of, mining for gold, and, some guy that was tunneling deep and deep and deep and deep and going deeper and deeper and couldn't find any gold, and he finally closed up shop, sold off the mine to somebody else, and he was like 3 feet away from striking gold and making it rich, and the next person that came in and cleaned up after them. So it's a little bit of a timing, and the timing kind of has to deal with luck, because, maybe you get lucky, but look, here's how we don't have to rely on luck. Because if you rely on luck for this, you can't control luck, but you can control for how many times it is that you market to these 100 people here. So with starting small, so we could hit these 100 people, 100 homes, 10 times. 100 homes, 10 times is 1,000 versus 1,000 homes one time is still 1,000. Now over here you've got a bigger audience, you've got more people it is you're going to market to, but look, it doesn't matter how great your letter, your flyer, and how much time you spent designing it and creating it and perfecting it, it doesn't matter how good it is. Most people are just going to throw it out. Most people, think of all the junk mail it is that you get. And when I ask you to think of the junk mail it is that you get, what junk mail is it that's coming to mind? Is it that same junk mail that you keep seeing again and again and again? It probably is, because repetition, there's one thing for the real world that you take away from getting your real estate license and studying for your real estate license, is repetition allows learning. Repetition creates and fosters learning. So all day, every day, I always would pick, if these are our two options, option A and option B, I would always pick the 100 homes 10 times. If we've got the budget to do 1,000 of whatever, 1,000 ad impressions, 1,000 mailers, 1,000 postcards, 1,000 pay-per-click clicks, you always want to try to narrow this down. I would even say, maybe we take option C and we do 50 homes 20 times. Still 1,000. And yeah, we're making our audience smaller and smaller and smaller, but look at the difference in the repetition. Those 50 homes, they might not want to sell. They might not want to buy, but they might have a friend or family member that might want to buy or sell. If they just got one piece of junk mail or saw your ad one time on Facebook, or your ad one time on YouTube, or your pay-per-click ad one time is not going to be enough. You're quickly forgotten. There's studies that have been done, and these are studies, I think it was done by Harvard, and they were funded by large corporations to do this study. And this study basically tested how many times it takes for somebody to recognize a brand. How many impressions, how many times somebody has to see something. Whenever you hear that word impressions in marketing and advertising, impression means how many times somebody sees something. So somebody getting a postcard or receiving a letter in the mail, that's an impression when they see it. Maybe they don't open it, but they see it. They see your name. They see your logo as the return address. Maybe they throw it out right there, but you made an impression. They see your ad on Facebook. That's an impression. They see a YouTube ad. That's an impression. They see one of those banner ads on a website somewhere. That's an impression. They see a Google pay-per-click ad. That's an impression. They see a bus bench. That's an impression. They see your face. because you're knocking on their door. That's an impression. That's a valuable impression, a much more valuable, I would say, than any of the others, because now you're getting interaction with this where you might not always get interaction with some of these other impressions that you have. They see your business card. That's an impression. And now this study was done to see how many impressions it takes before there's recognition. And I've known this statistic for some time. This is an older study. I'd be curious to see how this might have changed to today, where there's even more marketing going on, and I would say this number is even higher. But what this study found is it takes 7 to 8 times for somebody to create a memory out of 7 to 8 impressions. So if you're only mailing or only advertising one time to this person, you're not going to be memorable. 10 times, we've got a pretty good chance that they're going to remember us. 20 times, not only are they remembering us, but we're reinforcing that memory, because it's not just enough to create that memory. And for those of you that have your real estate license, that have had your real estate license maybe for some time, if I were to ask you to retake the licensing exam today, you probably wouldn't do as well. Doesn't matter that you learned it and remembered it in the past. The question is, do you still remember that today? Because memory isn't something that happens once and you have it forever. It's something that constantly, our minds are constantly pruning and trying to clear out the information that it doesn't deem to be important and relevant. And your advertising, your consumers, your clients, your potential clients, your audience that you're marketing to, their minds are not going to think that your advertising is maybe relevant, especially if they're not interested at this current day and time in buying or selling a property. Maybe they just moved into this neighborhood. If they just moved into this neighborhood, they're not going to be so concerned with right away wanting to sell their property. If they just move there, they're probably another statistic, 5 to 7 years. Knowing these statistics will help show you the kind of reasoning why that you send out a letter and you don't get a response off of it. It's very common. Don't think that you sent out one letter or one postcard, you sent it out one time to 1,000 homes, you didn't get a single phone call off of it. Don't think that that's not working, because the goal is to make an impression. Now, once you've sent out 10 postcards, or really if we want to go by that study of 7 to 8, so we'll say once you've sent out 7. If you've sent out 7 mailings and you haven't got any calls, all right, now let's look at this. Let's try to make some adjustments. But after sending out 7 letters, even if it's only to 50 homes, you're probably going to get something. Even if it's at the very least, hey, quit sending me this letters, you're killing trees, or whatever the case may be. But the point is here that the repetition, and that's really what rules 1 and 2 that we just went over here are all tying towards. Repetition. Without repetition, farming is pointless. Without repetition, farming will not have a return on its investment. Without repetition, you're not going to be reinforcing your brand, even if you do have something that's memorable. And even for clients that you've worked with in the past, you need to have repetition. Repetition reinforces memories. Repetition. Repetition is the name of the game with farming. Look, we're going to take a quick commercial break, but when we come back, we're going to talk more about farming. We're going to talk about some more rules, because I wish now, if you could do these 2 things, be persistent, and really that's, if you just follow rule number 1 of be persistent, we don't even have to worry about what size we're starting with here. If we could start with 1,000 homes and we can continuously, month after month, market to those 1,000 homes, then go to 1,000 homes. If you could do that with 10,000 homes, if you have the budget to be able to afford to market to 10,000 homes, and you could do that month after month after month and be persistent and be consistent and be frequent, whatever word it is we want to use for that, you don't have to worry about the size. So don't focus on the size. And as a general rule of thumb, if you're new to farming, go smaller. Go smaller with the number of homes. And the reason why, unless you have an unlimited ad budget, which if you do, then go big. But the point with farming is it's about the long game. You're playing the long game with farming. Don't expect to get business right off of that immediate letter that's sent out when you're farming. Or as soon as you put up a Facebook ad, you might get some low-hanging fruit. You might hit the timing just right, especially when you start getting into larger audiences. You might hit the timing just right where you're exactly in the right place at the right time, and luck did you a favor on this one, but don't count on luck to do you any favors because you can't control luck. You can't control these odds here unless you're playing the long game. If you're playing the long game, you're basically assuring that you're going to be there when the time is right. It's not a question of when is the time. The question is, are you going to be there? And if you're there all the time, if you're constantly in their mailbox, if you're constantly in their Facebook feed, if you're constantly in their Google pay-per-click ads, if you're constantly in their display ads, if they're constantly seeing you, they know that you're the expert and what you're able to achieve with this. And that's why you want to start small. You want to, even if you're only having 50 homes it is that you're starting out with, and saturate these 50 homes. Not just with direct mail, but with digital advertising as well. And if you really want to jumpstart your farm area, get out there and do some face-to-face networking. And this could be just as simple as going and knocking on some doors. Knocking on doors, and now you're getting those face-to-face interactions. Or maybe, look, if you don't like door knocking, I get it. A lot of people don't. You don't have to do door knocking, but find some way where you get face-to-face interactions. Maybe hold an open house in the neighborhood. Have an open house and invite all of the owners in this area, all the people that live in this area, invite them to the house. Not just owners, but if there's people renting houses here. Because what can we do with a renter? Maybe they want to rent something else. Maybe they're thinking about moving into something bigger, or maybe they do what most renters want to do, which most renters might not ever do, but they like the idea of purchasing a home. And they might think that purchasing the home is too far out of reach for them, that it's not possible, but they want to do it. And so we're there to be that agent of change for them, to show them how it's possible, to show them what it is that they could do, to show them how they could build equity in the property, to build equity in the property and trade up to an even larger property as well. And we want to be that lifetime agent for them. But the key thing with this, and this applies all across the board, really in any business, in any field, in any industry, in any job, persistence, being consistent, being frequent, being there, in the long run, will win out over everything. For example, water. We don't think of water, being destructive for the most part. I mean, we need water to survive. And, maybe we think of hurricanes here and we think about that being destructive, but if we just think of the persistence of water, whether it's on a beach or along a river, and it'll wear stones down to nothing. All that sand we have on our beaches, that sand is created from taking shells and taking rocks and breaking it down over time. It doesn't do that instantly. It does it over time. So we need to be that force of over time building up that repetition, that memory in their mind. So we're going to take a quick break, but stick with us. I'm John Christopher. You're watching State of Real Estate.
Have you seen what's going on in Tampa?
If you're looking to get in on the real estate action that's going on in Tampa right now, we're who you need to talk to. We can help you get your real estate license, start your real estate career. We're here to assist you for the life of your real estate career. Give us a call. Phone number is 813-928-0106, or check us out online at tampaschool.com.
Do you want to incorporate studying for your real estate exams into your busy schedule? Now you can review the key topics you need to know to pass your class and state exams with our MP3 audio review. Simply pop in your headphones or connect to your car to reinforce crucial information while you exercise or drive. Listen to the first unit for free at mp3audioreview.com. That's mp3audioreview.com.
Hey, if you're enjoying the show today, which I'm sure you are, be sure to hit like, subscribe, post your comments, share with your friends and family. Thank you guys so much for watching.
You are watching
State of Real Estate. Every Friday at 12 noon Eastern Time. Grow your real estate business. You're watching State of Real Estate. Hey, welcome back to this week's episode of State of Real Estate. My name is John Carissimo, and this show is brought to you by the Tampa School of Real Estate. If you're thinking about starting or enhancing your real estate career, we're who you need to talk to. One of the primary reasons we do this show is to help our past students know what to do once they have their license, to know some basics about farming in real estate. And so before we get back into it, because I was reading some comments here that we had coming on both Facebook and YouTube while we're on the break here. And if you guys have any comments or questions about any of this stuff, drop it in there. I'd love to answer those on the air for you guys. This is live. So I want to give a shout out to hopefully I'm saying this right, Alita on Facebook for tuning in, helping her prep for the exam. So yeah, be persistent in your preparing for the exam, and you will pass, and you will have the license, and you'll have the license to farm a neighborhood for real estate. And we got a question coming in from David over on YouTube, and David's got a really good question. And this is actually one of the things I wanted to talk about, but we'll fast forward to that now because David just asked the question about this. Does it matter if another agent is farming the same area? And if it does, do altercations occur? And great show. Thank you, David. Thank you for enjoying the show. I'm glad that this is helping you out. And those are very, very good questions here. So let's start off with first, does it matter if another agent is farming the area? Yes, it does. To a certain degree. To a certain degree, it does. And so let me talk about how it is that you could find out very easily if an agent, not only as to whether or not they're farming an area, but how effective it is that they're farming an area, how effectively they're farming an area. So what we would do to find out this information, David, is we would go into the MLS, and we're not paying attention to the letters people are getting or the Facebook ads that people are doing or whatever these other agents are doing. Because we might see that they're farming this area, but the question now is, are they farming it effectively? Meaning, are they getting listings in this neighborhood? That's the number one way to tell if there's another agent out there effectively farming a neighborhood. And if that's the case, there might be better fish to fry, to use that expression. There might be a better neighborhood where there isn't some agent effectively farming it. Because, and there's a really good book on this called Blue Ocean Strategy. It's a great book that basically refers to this whole concept of blue oceans and red oceans. And red oceans, if we imagine a red ocean, why would an ocean turn red? Well, there's sharks in there, killing everything. And in competitive markets, that's called a red ocean. A competitive market is a red ocean where, you're just fighting to get by. You're trying to, and all the fish get all eaten up, and so these sharks are now resorting to trying to kill each other. And red ocean is not where you want to be. The blue ocean, on the other hand, blue ocean, nice smooth sailing. It means that there's no competition. And, you'll still probably have competition, but now the question is, it doesn't really matter that you have the competition if they're not farming it effectively. So to find out whether or not you should, these are one of the things you should check. And I'm going to tell you a couple things it is that you want to check in the MLS. Let's say this is the area, wherever this pertains to on the map. We go into the MLS, and what you're going to want to do is pull up all of the active listings, all of the sold listings, the expired listings, the withdrawn listings, basically all of the listings. So in the MLS, you're going to check all those boxes for active, sold, expired, withdrawn. Pull those all up because what you're trying to do is find the pulse for a neighborhood. And you'll see in there the solds, those will show up as red. And you'll see that they look kind of something like that, almost like little baseball home plates. So you'll see these sold listings. And what you could do is you could click on it, and for all of these sold listings, when you click on it and open up the report, one of the great things about the MLS is it tells you who listed that property for sale. And if it's sold, it'll actually even tell you who represented the buyer in that transaction. So we'll pull this up. We'll look as to who the listing agent is. And let's say that this property, we'll call this number 1 here. We'll say that listing number 1, and then we've got listing number 2. We'll say that listing number 1 is Joe Smith. Because when you're thinking about farming an area, you want to know your competition. You want to know who else is out there getting listings in this neighborhood. Because when you choose an area as your farm area, that's your turf, and you want to defend your turf from any other agents. You want that to be your area, and if any other agents even think of getting a listing in there, they'll know that they're coming into your turf. And you know, that's kind of the impression it is that you want to have, that this is your area. And you know, you're not going to stop other agents from coming in here. There's probably something about market allocation and antitrust laws that say basically the conspiracy about that is bad. But ultimately, if you're marketing effectively, you don't have to worry about any other. Maybe one agent will get lucky and they'll somehow have a friend of a friend that somehow refers them from within here. But those clients they should know. You're not farming effectively if one of these clients, if they choose somebody else. That tells you that you're not being effective, because an effective strategy will make it so if you were Joe Smith, you would have every single one of these listings in this neighborhood. So we see Joe Smith, and then let's say we look at listing number 2 and we see Mary Jones. And let's say that there's another one here. Let's say that this one is also a sold listing. We'll put that one down as number 3. And let's say that number 3 is, we'll call him Bob Williams. Not easy to come up with names like this. So let's say we got these 3 people. What this information tells you: this would be a great area to farm. Why is it a great area to farm? Well, when we look at all the sold listings in this neighborhood, there are 3 different agents. There's no one agent dominating this area. Maybe all 3 of these agents are farming this area. You know, this could be a red ocean, a very competitive red ocean in disguise. But none of these agents are farming this neighborhood effectively, because if they did, they would have more than one sold listing. And to further enlighten us on this as well, you could look for the active listings. And the active listings are what's going to be in green in the MLS. So you'll see these active listings in here. Make that one number 4. That one number 5. So we'll see these properties that are active in here. And let's say number 4 is Susan Wills. I don't know. And let's say that this number 5 here is also Joe Smith. All right, so now looking at this information, that we've got Joe Smith in here twice, what's that tell us? That tells us that Joe Smith is doing something to get more than just one piece of activity in this neighborhood. And you could also, same thing for looking at the withdrawn listings, looking at the expired listings. The expireds are going to be black. The withdrawns, I think, are maybe also black in there. They're really the only ones I remember are the red and green for sure. But you'll see them all in there. They're all labeled out. When you click on them, it'll tell you what status it is, even if you're not familiar with the color legend in there. But when you see these names in here multiple times, so we see Joe Smith in here twice. Okay, this is they're not dominating this area, but they're doing something right, because they were able to get 2. And it could just be that they had this property sold and somebody saw this and they called off of their sign. Now, in the perfect world, in the ideal situation, you want to be the only person. You want to be the person that sold all of these listings and have all the active listings, because if that's the case, no other agents have a shot. And that's the thing it is. That's the only time I would say that look elsewhere. Absolutely look elsewhere. Don't try to go into a neighborhood where there's already an agent that has dominated and has all of the solds and all of the active listings. When you start to see, and there's no official rule on this here, but when you start to see repetition and frequency of the names of these people, that tells us, okay, yeah, they're doing a pretty good job farming this. Let's see if there's another neighborhood that has a lot of activity in it, but maybe doesn't have any agent that's dominating it. And something like this, I would still, if this were the actual results you're pulling from this neighborhood, that there are 3 solds and these 2 active listings, and there was only those 2 on Joe Smith, I would say on the competitive front of this year, yeah, you know, that's, I wouldn't worry about that too much. I would say, yeah, go for it, farm that neighborhood, kick Joe Smith out of there, get Bob Williams out of there, get Susan Wills out of there, get Mary Jones out of there, get all of these people out of that neighborhood. And how do we do that? We're persistent. We're chipping away at it until again and again and again they're seeing our names, our picture, our logos in their mailbox, in their Facebook feed, in their email inbox. How do you get their email? You go out there door knocking and you ask them for their emails. You hold an open house and you ask them for their emails there. That's where you got to have more of these kind of interaction-based cases here. Maybe you start up a neighborhood website. That's another way to farm an area. Involves a lot of work to set something like this up, and maybe it's not a website, but maybe it's like some sort of, like Facebook group or something like that. But ideally, the reason why you want a website is you want an email capture form, and that email capture form would be sign up for the Ridge Mills neighborhood newsletter, sign up for the whatever neighborhood newsletter, and they drop their email in there, and all of a sudden you have their email, and that's where you could also be. You could be in their inbox as well. So you want to, like I said, be omnipresence. Omnipresence is the goal when you're farming a neighborhood. You want to be everywhere, no matter which way it is that they look. Anywhere there's an opportunity to market in this particular area, whatever channel, whatever medium, you're there as the real estate professional in that space. Maybe there's some sort of like kids soccer league or little league or football league or something like that. You're sponsoring that. So even when they're there to enjoy their kids' soccer games, they see that you're the one funding that you're the one making it possible for their kids to play soccer on Saturdays. Which maybe they're not, maybe they're like, oh, I wish that guy would stop sending money into this here so they wouldn't have this stupid soccer, but avoid the cynical side of that there. But you want to be everywhere, anywhere there's an opportunity to market, and what this will do is this will help make it clear for you as to where it is that you want to direct your marketing efforts. Because when you have an opportunity, and you'll have numerous opportunities present themselves, you'll have people calling you with opportunities to market, you'll have people emailing you with opportunities to market, you'll have people sending you information in the mail. They'll be marketing to you to market with them. And this makes it very clear for when you're making decisions, that's not my farm area, I don't want to waste my money there. If it is something where they're marketing in your farm area, like I said, if it's maybe a kid's soccer team or little league team or something like that, yes, you want to, okay, yes, it's in my farm area, very easy decision, yes, I will make the expenditure. And maybe maybe sponsoring the kid's little league team, maybe that one investment, that one piece of marketing there doesn't gain you any sort of business, but that's supporting everything else it is that you're doing, because now they're seeing you there. It's building the repetition. That's an opportunity for another impression. But again, if this is something outside of your farm area, if just some random, one of the things that comes out a lot, and we're seeing that a lot this time of year, is these different high school teams, high school football teams in particular, they'll have those programs. And is that a good way to advertise? Yes, if it's a high school that's in your farm area. If it's not in your farm area, don't waste your time. Don't try to take on a second farm area and say, okay, well, yeah, I could do that here, but now I've got to start farming this neighborhood too. No, focus on your neighborhood. And what I want to talk about next is picking the neighborhood, because we already talked about one detail for picking the neighborhood is there competition? But based on this neighborhood here, based on this activity that I've given you right here, I would say that this probably is not the best. So it would be good on the competitive aspect of looking at the competition, but I would say that this neighborhood with these statistics that I've presented to you so far is not going to be a good neighborhood to farm, and I'll explain why, but of course we've got to take a commercial break first. So stick with us. I'm John Chrismo. You're watching State of Real Estate.
Have you seen what's going on in Tampa?
If you're looking to get in on the real estate action that's going on in Tampa right now, we're who you need to talk to. We can help you get your real estate license, start your real estate career. We're here to assist you for the life of your real estate career. Give us a call. Phone number is 813-928-0106, or check us out online at tampaschool.com.
Do you want to incorporate studying for your real estate exams into your busy schedule? Now you can review the key topics you need to know to pass your class and state exams with our MP3 audio review. Simply pop in your headphones or connect to your car to reinforce crucial information while you exercise or drive. Listen to the first unit for free at mp3audioreview.com. That's mp3audioreview.com.
Hey, if you're enjoying the show today, which I'm sure you are, be sure to hit like, subscribe, post your comments, share with your friends and family. Thank you guys so much for watching.
You are watching
State of Real Estate. Every Friday at 12 noon Eastern Time. Grow your real estate business. You're watching State of Real Estate. Hey, welcome back to this week's episode of State of Real Estate. I'm John Kurtzman. The show is brought to you by the Tampa School of Real Estate. What we're talking about today is a topic that's essential if you want to be able to have some system in place that brings you business. And this not only makes your real estate business more profitable, but it makes it much more enjoyable as well. And so what we've been talking about so far, we talked about a couple rules about farming. We talked about, number one, you want to be persistent. That's really the number one rule with farming. If you could be persistent really in almost anything, not even just farming, you'll probably end up eventually becoming successful because you're going to find out what doesn't work and then tweak that and then find out that maybe that doesn't work quite as well and tweak that. And eventually you're going to develop a winning strategy that works for your particular market. And there's a lot of generalizations. There's a lot of things that apply across the board like what we're talking about today. But a lot of this stuff is going to be specific based on the neighborhood it is that you're actually farming. So we talked about these sizes here. And the key thing with repetition, that's what we're trying to achieve. The repetition fosters learning, and when they've learned that we're the expert in the area, you might think I'm going to say your job is done, but your job is never done. We've accomplished a milestone when we've established that saturation that we're the expert in the area, but we now have to constantly reinforce that image again and again and again. And we reinforce that by being the one that has all the listings in the neighborhood. We reinforce that by constantly having new listings coming on, having properties that have sold, that are active, because when people see, probably one of the best ways to get a stronghold into a neighborhood is to actually get listings. Because when they see the for sale signs, I would venture to say, and I don't have official statistics on this, but I would say that's probably one of the top reasons why somebody would just reach out to somebody that's looking to sell a home. When they're thinking about selling, they'll look at who their neighbor's using. And even if they don't ask their neighbor directly, maybe they don't even know who their neighbor is, but they see that this agent works in their neighborhood, they're probably just going to call that person. They'll probably just call them up and say, hey, I want to sell my house too. Can you help me sell my house? Will you help me sell my house? What will you charge for helping me sell my house? But what you want to do, and the standpoint it is that you want to take with this, and I'm going to talk about this a little bit more later in the show, is almost an educational type of perspective. So we'll talk about what it is that we'll do in this farming, but first we have to get back to why before the break I said that this isn't a good farm area. Now we talked about the competition, and I said even though we've got Joe Smith on here for 2 out of these 5 listings that are in the area, even though that Joe's got 2 of them out of the 5, that's not really domination. He's not really dominating and really truly effectively farming this particular neighborhood. If he was, he would have all of these listings, or 4 out of 5 of these listings. That would be something where I would hesitate and say, okay, let's look at some other neighborhoods where there's not somebody like Joe that has all of these listings. But when there's not this competition, it meets that checkbox, but that's not the only test you want to choose to find out if this is a good neighborhood. So let's say that, and the reason why this might not be good is, so when we originally defined this, we said that, okay, this is 100 homes in this little hashed out area that we have here. So there's 100 homes in this neighborhood. Now, if these statistics are from the last 12 months, are from the last year, if these statistics are from the last year, and out of these 100 homes, there's been 3 sales, that's an extremely low turnover. And the way we calculate the turnover is we take the number of sales, which are 3, and we're going to divide that by the number of homes. So the sales divided by the total number of homes, and that gives us 0.03 or 3%. So in this neighborhood, there's only a 3% turnover ratio. And if you see something like that, I would advise to run for the hills. You don't want to be in a neighborhood with a low... Now, again, this is going to depend on your market, and maybe compared to other neighborhoods, 3% is outstanding. Maybe other neighborhoods are maybe 1%, a 2%, maybe 0.5%. If that's the case, then yeah. But especially in the Tampa Bay area with a hot market like we have right now, this number should be higher than that for most neighborhoods. If it isn't, there's an expression they have for these that is that if this is this low, this is a buy and die neighborhood, basically that the people buy here and they die here, that maybe those 3 homes that were sold were people that had died and they sold off the estate. The person that inherited the property sold off that property. So the real estate world, they call that buy and die neighborhoods. And the reason why this is bad to farm in is because you can't control the odds, but you could choose what games you play. You could choose which neighborhood it is that you're going to farm in. And so you've got to meet a couple different tests. You've got to find out, okay, is there an agent already dominating this neighborhood? Because if there is, don't waste your time farming there. There's got to be a better blue ocean, a bluer ocean at least, with less competition. This one here on the competition front would be okay. But this one here for the turnover ratio, that's what this 3% is here, the amount of turnover, the percentage of the homes that are selling every 12 months, that wouldn't be good. But let's say there weren't 3 homes, but there were, let's say it's not 3, but let's say 13 homes that have sold in this neighborhood in the last 12 months. That's no longer just a 3%, that's a 13%. And obviously the numbers will be a little bit more difficult because you might not have exactly 100 homes and something that's easy to calculate here. But it's really just as simple as taking the number of sales, dividing it by the number of homes. And a lot of this is comparison based. I tell you guys that 3% is a terrible turnover, that you don't want to do that neighborhood. But if that's the best in this area, if it's the best in the market it is that you're working in, you should be able to find something much higher than 3% in the Tampa Bay area. But if the market you're working in, that's the highest it is you could find, then all right, let's farm that 3% neighborhood. Let's see if we can convince some more people to sell in that neighborhood. But if we're seeing 13% versus 3%, obviously you want to pick the neighborhood with higher turnover. So now with this neighborhood, there's 13 sales that have gone on. And the more sales it is that there are, the less chance it is. And this is really more important. Like I said, when we're talking about the competition, why I would skip ahead here, because this is really more important when you're choosing a farm area, is being that there's a lot of turnover, that there's a lot of people moving in and out of the neighborhood. Maybe it's because they don't like the neighborhood. Maybe it's because they're looking to move up into a bigger home. Whatever the reason may be, when there's lots of sales in the neighborhood, and there's some other ways to look at this as well, but that's the first thing you want to look at when you're choosing a neighborhood. Number one is understand the appropriate size it is to work with here. And based off that information we talked about at the beginning, we probably want to be between the 50 and 100 homes. If we're planning on doing 1,000 letters, let's just keep it simple and saying we're just doing postcards. If we're doing 1,000 postcards a month and that's all we can afford to do, we want to find ourselves somewhere in here and then find out how many times it is that we could hit them again and again, how much repetition it is that we could get. So we figure out our size first, but then we start looking at neighborhoods of these sizes and areas it is that we can market to of these sizes here. And you'll see these different ratios. You've got to do these calculations. You've got to run these numbers. Okay, how many homes do we have here? Okay, how many sales is there? Okay, that's 13%. This one's looking pretty good, but let's look at some of these other neighborhoods here. And then take your neighborhoods with the highest turnover ratio, whichever ones have that highest turnover percentage, and now take a look at it. Let's say we've got 2 of them tied for 13%. We've got 2 neighborhoods, and the 2 neighborhoods that are the highest are 13% turnover. Now we look at these and we look at, okay, which one is less competitive? Which one is less competitive? And when we're going off and calculating this, the 13 we're calculating here, that's just sales it is we're looking at. We're not looking at the active listings, we're looking at the sales. Because there could be 13 active listings, but not a single one sold. What does that tell us? Think about what that means. If there's 13 properties available on the market currently, but there hasn't been one sale in the last 13 months, well, at first glance, that looks like no one wants to buy there. Now, there could be a chance that all of a sudden 13 people just decided to put their property on the market and then just hit the market. And maybe that just means it's high in demand and all of a sudden there's an influx in supply, but you're probably not going to see that anomaly. So when you see more listings than there are properties that have sold, it's probably telling you that that's maybe also not a good reason to farm it in that particular neighborhood. Because we could get 13 listings, but if those 13 listings don't get us any sales, if we still get 0 sales off of those 13, we don't get paid off the listings, we get paid off of selling those listings. So we want to find an area not only where there's activity, but it's sold activity, that there's home sales, not just listings on the market. And this is all data you could find in the MLS. In the MLS, it's a very powerful tool if you know how to use it, not just for getting a property sold, but also understanding a neighborhood. And another reason why you want to be the expert in this neighborhood here and the expert in the turnover and who's selling what and what property sold for what price, you want to be the expert in that neighborhood. Not just so you know how to market it, but so that you appear to be the expert. And you not just appear to be the expert, but you are the expert in that neighborhood. And everyone that lives there knows that. And that's why I want to get into talking about what it is that we're going to market to the people in this particular farming area. So to find out what it is that we actually market to them, we're going to cover that after this quick commercial break. So stick with us. I'm John Christman. You're watching State of Real Estate.
Have you seen what's going on in Tampa?
If you're looking to get in on the real estate action that's going on in Tampa right now, we're who you need to talk to. We can help you get your real estate license, start your real estate career. We're here to assist you for the life of your real estate career. Give us a call. Phone number is 813-928-0106 or check us out online at tampaschool.com.
Do you want to incorporate studying for your real estate exams into your busy schedule? Now you can review the key topics you need to know to pass your class and state exams with our MP3 audio review. Simply pop in your headphones or connect to your car to reinforce crucial information while you exercise or drive. Listen to the first unit for free at mp3audioreview.com. That's mp3audioreview.com.
Hey, if you're enjoying the show today, which I'm sure you are, be sure to hit like, subscribe, post your comments, share with your friends and family. Thank you guys so much for watching.
You are watching
State of Real Estate. Every Friday at 12 noon Eastern Time. Grow your real estate business. You're watching State of Real Estate. Hey, welcome back to this week's episode of State of Real Estate, where we're talking about something that I would urge you to master in real estate, and that's farming. Farming is really just we call that farming in real estate, but it's really just advertising. But we like to say farming because we're farming this area. That's the reason why it's called farming. It's called farming because it's basically like every little letter it is that we send out, every Facebook ad that they see, every YouTube ad that they see, every Google pay-per-click ad they see, every display ad that they see, every email they see from us, every text message they see from us, every phone call they get from us. These are planting seeds. The seeds are the initial time when they get that first impression from us. But then what do? We go here and we nurture these seeds. We water them. We water them with ads. We fertilize them with ads. We nurture them with letters and postcards and whatever it may be. And it eventually grows into one of these listings. That's the plants in our farm area basically, is getting some sort of listing in this particular area. And you might say, well, John, what about buyers? Shouldn't I try to get buyers too? You will. You will get buyers because when somebody is selling their house, are they just going to go be homeless? No, absolutely not. They're going to sell their house and they're going to buy another house. And maybe they're staying in your same geographic area. Now, look, and one thing I don't want you to get confused here with farming, we don't turn down business, ever. You never turn down business. Maybe refer the business out to somebody, but you never turn down business in real estate. That's rule number one. Never turn down business. Maybe refer it out, but never turn it down. So if we get somebody who lives outside of this farm area, which you will, you're very likely to do, you don't turn them away. You don't say, no, you're not in my farm area, I don't want to help you. I don't know how to help you, or whatever it is. No, you can find out. You could learn that information. But the point with farming is it's who we're marketing to. We're narrowing down the audience that we market to so we could establish saturation, so we could have the repetition that makes it so they know who it is that we are. And what I want to talk about next is, okay, what it is that we're going to do to be there, to establish that consistency and frequency it is that we need. What is it that we're going to do? So we'll have these different ads, whether it's a postcard, whether it's a letter, whether it's a Facebook ad, whether it's a video, whether it's an email. Look, you could adapt any of these pieces of content to all of these mediums, and you should. You shouldn't just rely on one medium. You shouldn't just rely on just sending postcards or some sort of mail or anything like that. Don't rely on just one channel or one medium, because you might be only sending letters, but people might not pay attention to what it is that's coming in the mail. Maybe you're marketing to some millennial that doesn't care, that doesn't check their mail, that gets their mail returned back to them. My younger brother, like I'd sent him stuff before in the mail, and I get it back to me because he never checks his mail. So that might be happening. That might happen to you. But how else can we reach those people? On Facebook, on Instagram, on Snapchat, on Twitter, on all these social media platforms, on YouTube. There's ways to advertise on these platforms as well, and you could narrow your advertising down to just that farm area it is that you want to saturate. So all of your advertising needs to be focused on your farm area. If you want to advertise to more people, you increase your farm area, or maybe add a second farm area. I would argue that expanding around your farm area would probably be more effective than just picking random farm areas all over the place, but that depends, because maybe the surrounding areas don't have much activity going on in them. So that's why, again, you've got to take these concepts and apply them based on the markets it is that you're working in. But let's talk about some of the things it is that we could send out. So number one, the most effective, really probably before we start off anything, the most effective thing it's not putting a cheesy little drawing like this in your advertising. It's actually having one of these bad boys out in front of a house in your farm area. Nothing is probably going to be more effective than this. And don't just have it look like this, plain Jane, for sale. You have your phone number on there, have your picture on there, have a branded sign out there in front of these homes so that they're seeing you and they know that that's you, or that's your team, or if you're a broker, that that's your office. So this is probably the best way to solicit business, and probably one of the fastest way to get other people, because they see their neighbors selling their house. Well, maybe I should sell my house too. They're selling their house, so we should sell our house. So that's a huge thing. But now how do we advertise that we've got this property for sale? Well, there's a few things that are going to stem off this, and this is really why you want to try to get a listing in one of these areas. And what do you do if you don't have a listing in this area? You maybe borrow a listing off of another agent in your office. They might just let you use that listing because they don't care about farming the area. They've just got this listing and they're busy with other things, and so they're not going to put time and effort into farming this area. So maybe you ask them, hey, do you mind if I send out a postcard with your listing on here? You say, this is my office, just had, and we'll explain this in a second. So let's say that we've got the listing, or we've got a permission from another agent. And look, even if the other agent maybe isn't keen on you doing it on your own, maybe you say, hey, look, let's team up. I want to use your listings and market your listings. I know how to market listings in this area. So I'll do the work to send out the letters or put these ads together or whatever, and I want to use your listing here, and I'll pay you whatever referral fee, or you come up with some sort of deal, some sort of agreement where you can borrow their listing. So get creative with that if you don't have a listing already, but ideally you want to get those listings yourself. But it definitely helps when you've got a teammate who's driven and wants also to be successful. Now there's two heads are better than one and whatnot. So this could be a postcard, this could be a Facebook ad, this could be a video. There's a lot of ways, but one of the things that works very effectively is you've got, let's say, we'll say it's a postcard. This could very easily be a Facebook post or anything like that, or Instagram. You've got this little home here. And what we're going to do, nice big red stripe up here. Big so it stands out. I've seen this before where, they use a faint little font over this and you can't read it. Get something that looks nice. Don't try to design this yourself unless you come from a background of graphic design and you are an expert in Photoshop or Adobe Illustrator or any of these little softwares that do this. Unless you're that expert, go to Fiverr or one of these websites where you pay like $5 and they'll Photoshop you up something that looks really nice, that will catch people's attention. I mean, really anything is better than nothing, but now how do we effectively maximize this and it's not worth your time to try to learn Photoshop. Maybe over time you'll figure it out. Or maybe you get them to design you a template that you just drop on top of the homes it is, so you don't have to keep paying them again and again and again. But you know what? Start out with, just pay $5 per thing. I mean, for as much money as we're spending to send out these postcards or send out these ads or anything like that, well worth the investment so you can use your time for more profitable purposes. So we've got on here, in this little red box up here, probably the one that would work best is sold. So if this listing sold, and it says right there in that big red stripe up at the top, and I mean, obviously it would look a lot better than this because this really isn't standing out too much. I can see it here on the screen. But that's the point. You don't want something that doesn't stand out. You want it absolutely to stand out, to catch their eye. And what happens when they see sold is they said, wow, they just sold their home. I didn't think it was possible to sell homes in this neighborhood, but look at that. They sold this home for $400,000. Oh my God, they sold it for $400,000. Wow. Our home is pretty close to that, so we could probably sell our home for that much money. Let's call this guy. This guy or this girl, they know what they're doing. Let's call them. Let's check out their website. Let's check out, because what you want to have is you want to have this here. This is the forefront. This is the eye catcher. This is the front of the postcard. This is the main image in your ad. And be careful with adding text to these images here. Something like this with just this sold is probably okay, but adding in the sale price here, especially if you're doing it on Facebook or Instagram or something like that, is probably going to drop down your conversion rates, because the more text you put in pictures, the less Facebook likes it and the less the people on Facebook actually like it as well. So keep your text to a minimum in any sort of pictures if you include text at all. You might want to just put just the property with maybe, I would say, that little red banner, that little red stripe up there. You could test things and find out maybe something works better. Maybe it's better to have it across the bottom here, a big red bar that says sold. Test it. Find out what works in your market to the people it is that you're marketing to, and further refine that to make it better. But that little red stripe, that one I can tell you definitely works really well. So start with something like that and then test maybe some other things that might work as well. So sold is one thing. Another one we could do, just listed, just like this. We could reuse this one property again and again and again to have multiple opportunities to farm to somebody. Just listed. We've got the sold. We've got coming soon. If this hasn't hit the market yet, maybe we just got the listing agreement signed, but it doesn't go out until Friday. Let's get a mailing out there. Let's get an ad on Facebook. Let's get a video, whatever it is that you're doing to market. Let's get it out there that this property is coming soon. Maybe once it's listed, we did coming soon, it's just listed. Now maybe we're doing an open house. And what they're going to be seeing, what this is going to appear to as the people who live in this neighborhood, is they say, wow, look at this agent and all it is that they're doing to get this house marketed. They sent out something that was coming soon. They sent out something that was just listed. They sent out something that was an open house. They sent out something that said it was under contract. Oh, wow, look, they did it. I mean, it's almost like they're going to be following the story of this listing, even if it's just through their mailbox with seeing these postcards in the mail. The number one mistake that agents make when farming is not having enough repetition. They might send out that they sold this, but that's all it is that they do. They're not going to remember anything if you just send it one time. So this repetition, hey, I just listed, this one's coming soon. Hey, it's just listed. Hey, it's open house. Hey, guess what? It's under contract. Oh, guess what? It's sold. I did it. I could do it for you too. Call me up. You don't even have to say that because that's what they're going to be thinking. So, and this happens every day. Agents get a property that's coming soon that was just listed that they hold an open house for that goes under contract that they get sold. That happens every day. But agents are terrible at telling that story. And that's what you need to do to farm an area effectively. And there's other things you could send out as well. There's market reports. Market reports are boring. I don't like looking at market reports, and I'm in real estate. What do you think the people that aren't in real estate that are going to get these are for? So if you try market reports, I would definitely recommend it so you have another opportunity to get in front of them. But those are boring. Nice picture of the house with the activity going on. That's probably going to be the most effective type of marketing and advertising as you could do to your farm area. But market reports will work as well. Maybe you have some sort of newsletter. I've seen a lot of these real estate newsletters. Not only do they take a lot of work to create a newsletter, and they might get you some business, but it's if you've got listings, run with that instead. Because people get excited to see house. They're not excited about us. They're excited about the real estate. They're excited about the home sales. They're excited about the possibility of their home selling. They're excited about the possibility of being able to buy a bigger, maybe better home. That's what excites them. That's what you've got to be in touch with. You've got to be in touch with what information that consumer wants to obtain. And they want to know about the sales, which a lot of agents do a market report. They'll send out these big spreadsheet tables that they print out that just looks disgusting with a bunch of numbers that you got to study it for like a half hour to make sense out of. It's probably wasting your time. I mean, do this. If you don't have any listings and you can't borrow a listing, it's better than nothing. But I wouldn't even worry about this. Newsletters take too much time to generate. Market reports, they're boring. No one wants to look at them. But this stuff right here. Nice home, just listed, coming soon, open house, under contract, sold. You might even be able to think of some other statuses. Maybe you have another open house. You send out another open house postcard. And you might be saying, well, John, how is that going to help me get this house sold? Why am I going to send an open house postcard to the people that are their neighbors? Yeah, you're right. It's not going to help get that house. Well, maybe it will. I don't want to say it won't, because maybe they have a friend or family member that wants to move to their neighborhood, and all of a sudden they see this open house and say, hey, look, here's my neighborhood. I love it here. Check this out. Check out this postcard I just got. Or they're tagging one of their friends on the Facebook ad for this here. Look at this house. You could be my neighbor. So people get excited about that. They're not going to share your market report with somebody. Your newsletter, they might find a little bit interesting, but again, those are so time-consuming to create, to put all this information together. I mean, you're basically making a mini newspaper with a newsletter, and most of the time people aren't even going to read it. So if you do some sort of newsletter thing, I'm not saying there's definitely worse ways to market to it, but if you do it, keep it simple, make it short, make it sweet, because they're probably not going to read it, and it's going to take a lot of time for you to generate. This is your bread and butter, sending out this information about the property itself. That needs always to be your showcase about what is most important for them. Is this particular property? Is whatever property, any properties that look good, market it. Use the properties. That's what we're selling. Yes, we're selling ourselves, but they don't want to buy us. They want to buy the real estate. That's what they want to think about, is the real estate. They don't want to think about us. They don't dream about their real estate agent, usually. They don't usually dream about us, but they'll dream about their house. They'll have their dream house. They don't have their dream agent. That's not a thing. Having a dream real estate agent isn't a thing. Having a dream house, though, is. So remember, it's about the properties. It's about the products that we sell, which are the real estate. And that's what's going to get them excited. That's what's going to get them interested in you. You could maybe supplement this with market reports and newsletters. But look, start out with something like this, because these are time consuming. These are boring. People usually aren't going to read them. This stuff, however, they will. It's about all the time we've got today on State of Real Estate. Thanks for everyone tuning in. Thanks, Jim, for tuning in over on Facebook. Same thing for Alidia. Thanks for asking your question earlier, David, about the competition. I hope you guys have enjoyed today's show. We actually have a lot more on farming on our Success Center. If you haven't been to our Success Center yet, you've got to check it out. It's tampaschool.com tampaschool.com/success. That's tampaschool.com/success. SUCCESS. You pop that into your browser. Just type in the search bar, farming. You'll see, I think we checked on this earlier because video guy was saying, hey, didn't we already do one on farming? Yes. But I guarantee you it's nothing like what we did today. There might be a couple of recurring themes you see across these here, but there's so much to know about farming. To farm effectively, it's so important. So check out those videos, tampaschool.com/success. We've got a lot more stuff on there than just real estate farming, so definitely check that out. It'll help you really understand full circle, making some money in real estate. It'll help you out. Be here every Friday, 12 noon Eastern time. You could drop in your email on the Success Center, and we'll send you an email every time it is that we go live, so definitely do that. Also, subscribe to us on YouTube, like us on Facebook, share this video with your friends. Maybe you've got a coworker, a colleague, another realtor that you know isn't doing a good job farming. Do them a favor and share them this video. Send it to them. Say, hey, look, this is how you should farm some stuff. So that's all the time we've got for today. Thank you guys for tuning in. Go apply this in your business. Hey, look, if you've got post-licensing coming up, give us a call. Phone number is 813-928-0106. Again, that's 813-928-0106. You'd also even text us. Maybe you don't have time for a phone call. Shoot us a text message. We will text you back. Look, if you've got to do post-licensing, continue education, maybe you've got a friend or family member, or maybe you want to get your real estate license. What are you doing watching this video without a real estate license? You need to get the license so you've got the license to farm, so you've got the license to go out there and make some money, to print money basically, because this is, when you know what you're doing, this could be very, very profitable. That's about all the time we've got for today, so thank you guys for tuning in. If you've got questions, drop them in there after the show. We do go back after the show and respond to all of our questions. Thank you guys for tuning in, and I'll see you next week.
Have you seen what's going on in Tampa?
If you're looking to get in on the real estate action that's going on in Tampa right now, we're who you need to talk to. We can help you get your real estate license, start your real estate career. We're here to assist you for the life of your real estate career. Give us a call. Phone number is 813-928-0106, or check us out online at tampaschool.com.
Do you want to incorporate studying for your real estate exams into your busy schedule? Now you can review the key topics you need to know to pass your class and state exams with our MP3 audio review. Simply pop in your headphones or connect to your car to reinforce crucial information while you exercise or drive. Listen to the first unit for free at mp3audioreview.com. That's mp3audioreview.com.
Hey, if you're enjoying the show today, which I'm sure you are, be sure to hit like, subscribe, post your comments, share with your friends and family. Thank you guys so much for watching.
You are watching
State of Real Estate. Every Friday at 12 noon Eastern Time. Grow your real estate business. You're watching State of Real Estate.